Hello, hello, hello. Hi. Sorry, that was a mess. Um, I created an event link, but obviously it didn't work. And hopefully now I am live. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining me. Thank you guys, some of you guys for being early as well, earlier than I was. I wanted to have everything set up and go perfectly fine. Even had a intro screen ready, but that didn't work out the way I wanted to, so we'll try better next time. But I'm glad you guys are still here. And I'm excited to share this whole like portfolio process, what I just went through when I just wrapped up, and hopefully share like some tips and tricks that I learned along the way doing this the second time around. And um, this is for designers, also creatives. I'm just speaking from my experience, so I can really only talk more specifically about like um, how it's worked for me as a designer. But I think there's a lot of similarities for designers and then other creatives. So definitely trying to keep you guys in mind as well and keep it like a bit more general. But since I'm speaking from experience, I would take like what advice pertains to you and what speaks to you, and yeah, apply it in your own way. I think that's the most important thing. And just getting started with Let's Talk Portfolio. I wanted to do this kind of live format because I've made kind of informational like Q&A videos before, but I like the kind of live aspect of it. I don't really like to edit like what I say because I'll like kind of explain some things and then cut out some things. And I think it's just more natural to just talk about it live so I can like share my experiences live, but also for you guys to have kind of live feedback and ask me questions and um yeah, just so you guys have a say in it too. Um, so that's why in the end I also have this kind of Q&A portion. And also if you want your portfolio peer reviewed, I'll make time for that at the end as well. Feel free to send it in the chat as we talk if you want your portfolio peer reviewed. Of course, if you don't want your portfolio kind of shared with everyone, send it to me after. Just message me. On YouTube should be fine. Just message me with your portfolio and I'll definitely take a look at it, or to my email. But at the time, we definitely have room for like questions. So send it like throughout the chat if you think of anything. And I have a few things people sent me before that I'm gonna reference back to. But okay, let's just get started. Okay, why do we even care about like a portfolio and why are we spending so much time on it? Um, I've made some lists throughout this because it helps me keep track of where yeah, let me know if the mic is giving you issues. I'm using my AirPods, but if the computer one works better, let me know. Um, but created a list throughout this to kind of keep me on track, but also to kind of have you guys have a reference for um, that you guys can screenshot and use as reference when you guys work on your portfolio. Let me switch really quick to my computer mic and see if it's any. Uh, uh, uh. Let's see. Um, Again, technical difficulties. Try to set in performance mode. I'll set it to my MacBook Pro. Um, MacBook Pro audio, but that might be too much sound because it picks up a lot more. So let me know what is better, so I can switch back to it. But I think just talking. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you guys for the live feedback. I really appreciate it. And I like just seeing your names pop up. Okay, back to the portfolio list. Why do we even care? First things first, we want to get hired for jobs, obviously, and this serves as our resume. Other jobs, they do like interviews and skill tests, and they'll go off of just the paper, but obviously, like as a designer or artist, sometimes you can't translate those visuals that you create just into words. You can try, but this serves as our resume. It's the first point of contact when you're being hired. When you send this out, this is the first thing they see. So obviously, the kind of primary point is, for job opportunities. But also it serves as kind of a record of our work. And by that I mean it's kind of like a timeline of all the work we've created and kind of an evolution of where our art has gone. So it's nice to have a place where all that kind of sits, where you kind of have an index of all your work. And so you have, from time to time, you can update it, and you don't have to kind of, we have files everywhere, so you don't have to track where all those things are. So it's a record of our work. And then it establishes our legitimacy as a designer or a creative. Any kind of, if you're in an art profession, again, it's hard to explain to non-designers or clients kind of what we do. So this kind of acts as our business card. We can send it out to someone and they have a quick visual of our work, an overview of our work, and then they can decide if they connect with that, if that's the style that they want. And so it's a really great kind of just easy introduction for people. And it's definitely more professional to have some sort of portfolio website like this. And getting to more of the personal aspect of it is that it's just a great time, especially now in the beginning of the year, perfect time to kind of reflect on where you have been as a designer. Even if this is the first portfolio you're making, obviously it took a lot to get all those pieces together to get to where you are now, and what you've created so far, and to have a portfolio of that work. So you can reflect on kind of where you want to go with your design, where you have been with it, what you've learned so far. I know even with my first portfolio, it was right out of college, and starting college, I had no design skills. I didn't even know graphic design was a profession. I just chose it because the classes looked interesting. And from there, by my senior year, when I was creating my portfolio, I was like, wow, like look at this accumulation of skills that I have acquired and I have applied in my own way. So it's like a period to reflect, because we're always on the go trying to meet deadlines, and we never get a chance to kind of appreciate where we have come from. So that's my kind of like spiel of like why it's important for like myself too. And there's no other time we get to really design for ourselves. We're always answering to clients, especially with designers. Like, luckily, as some more like freelance, just artists, you guys have more freedom of projects you choose or how you want to express yourself. But a lot of times with designers, we have to answer to certain like client deadlines or client feedback. And that kind of cuts off our creativity sometimes, or exactly what we want to create. So this is like one of the few times you can create for yourself. And that can be a lot of fun, but also can be like a bit of a challenge, as you'll see. And it's just a chance to kind of show off, honestly. Like, you did all this cool stuff, you want to show people you did this cool stuff. So it's a chance to kind of show off. even what you're putting into your portfolio, you can later put on social media because you already kind of mocked up those images, or pulled that work together, or wrote the description for something. So once you got your portfolio together, you can show off and put it on like social media or something. And if you have a specialty, like you're super great at like illustration or like motion design, I'm definitely envious of you, and for you to show that off, I think is super cool. So definitely like flex whatever design muscle, art muscle that you have on your portfolio. Okay, so that's basically our intro, and I'm happy to see your faces in the chat. I'm laughing at Kevin. Ready to get my first job. Just to let you know, Kevin's a very talented designer himself, and he's being very humble in this chat. But definitely check him out too, because he always shares things on social media that he's like mocked up or taking time to do like side projects, which I'm definitely not like super motivated to when I'm kind of in the fluster of deadline. So he's great with that, has really cool, interesting projects. And honestly, now let's just get into the before of my website and kind of rip the band-aid off of that one. And just to preface, this is right out of college. This is what I thought was great at the time, the best I could do at the time. And I've grown obviously since then, and it shows in my portfolio. But at this time, I thought this was good. This is the brand I wanted, and yeah. Let's see, screen share. So right from the jump, a very jarring red. Still all about that red. I chose that as my brand color. The logo's always been with me since the beginning. I'm lucky I didn't have to do much changes to that. But the red, the application of the red definitely has changed. I chose red and ran with it. I still have red in my logo, but like applied in a different way. Yeah, and I open with, this really jarring red, and then, Ji Zhang is a graphic designer and noodle enthusiast based in DC. And that's just so funny to me now, because I'm like, it's so cringe to me now, but it's like, I understand you're trying to show personality, like, go off, sis. But, choices were made. So that's fun. And then, but there were, essential elements here. We open with imagery first. So, lots of just projects, obviously a lot of student work, and that's okay. But there, you can kind of tell, like, from the variety of projects that it's student work, and that's what I had at the time, and it's fine. Now I kind of became more specific about what I wanted to choose, because, I was able to, through like work experience, I was able to narrow down what I want to showcase. But then I didn't know what I wanted to specialize in, so I just included what I felt like my top projects were at the time. And then you can also see here, I included things that technically that weren't just design also focused. My interest in photography, illustration as well. And with those, I kind of put it towards the bottom to prioritize, design first, then my skills. So there was some thought still put into this. Yeah, even though design-wise not what I would choose now, but that's fine. When I look back to this, I see my evolution, I see my thought process then, and your portfolio should evolve with you. And I see comment now that says, do you need to be artistic to be a graphic designer? And are you naturally artistic? Hold on, I need to cough. Also, I'm under the weather right now, so I'm gonna mute to cough because y'all don't want to hear that. Also, mug very on brand to this previous brand. And then, by the way, this website was like 3-4 years ago. So you can say it's a short time, seems like a long time now, but it just shows like what can change in a few years. And I see in the chat, like, do you need to be artistic to be a graphic designer? Do you know how to draw to be a graphic designer? I definitely say no. And I think I lean towards graphic design because I can like draw like, and like, realistically, sort of. Like I can draw, but I can only work with like a very few mediums, like charcoal, like pencil and stuff. It's what drew me towards design because I always had the knack for, drawing, doing something creative. But like definitely didn't have like enough interest or skill for drawing to kind of make it a career. And then let me just tell you, like, drawing on like pen and paper is completely different from like even digital illustration. I can't illustrate digitally. Like I can try, I can make shapes and stuff, but definitely not compared to what people can do. So you definitely don't need to illustrate. And I think that just defines what kind of designer you are and your design style. Mine definitely includes less illustration compared to other designers. And, I know if I need like a project like that, sources to kind of supplement for that. Or, another designer that would be better at that. So don't need to know how to draw. And then just quickly, actually let me show you Shoe City really quick. Shoe City was one of my first in-house experiences. I worked there over the summer while I was still in college for a year, and I was on the marketing team, and they gave me a lot of creative freedom working with their brand. Still work with them today. And I was created kind of like just marketing, collateral. And here you can see I open with this header image. I have this like description of a background about them and a kind of explanation of what I did there, my role. I don't know if I based my new one off of this, but I definitely rewrote all this because it just didn't sound professional to me anymore. This is just some content I collected over time and I included. But as you see, definitely image first. Everything is mocked up in context when it's necessary. So we did this like internal team kind of handbook. So I mocked that up, and then these ads as well, mock those up. I think this was like an interactive, this was like a motion kind of ad. And let's see. So because I also did photography there, I have this gallery at the bottom because I was proud of it. So show it off. And I think it's a skill that's just like a bonus skill to have. So I definitely included it, mostly because I was proud of it at the time, and I spent a lot of my time at that company doing that. And oops. So that's just like a brief kind of overview of my previous portfolio. Pretty simple. Again, let me just show you my about page really quick. I talked a lot about myself here. I don't know why I wrote so much about myself. Hi, I'm Jean. Here's a creative brief on me. The idea was cute. Like, I do admit that like there was some thought put into it, but like I don't even want to read what I said because it's probably really embarrassing. You guys can go read it. Feel free to screenshot and read if you want, but just an about page. My new layout is basically the same. It's like a work page and an about page. So honestly, let's just move on to the new website. Let me see. I have some notes. So let me see if I said everything I wanted to. Yeah, I think I just wanted to show you the before just to show you what the redesign was like. So going to my new portfolio, I'll just like go over it kind of briefly and then talk more about it as I mention like what my process was and then the checklist elements. So, ta-da, the new website. I had to refresh it because I had some like responsive design. Again, something that's like I feel like newer, that's happened in 3-4 years. So I wanted to include it in the website now. And for those asking what platform this is, well, for Kevin asking what platform this is, I was gonna say it anyway, but thank you for asking. Both were on Wix actually, and I actually created this on Editor X, you can see here, and I have that because I didn't pay for it. And I'll tell you why I didn't pay for it, because it was so much more expensive than I think the regular one. And it's like that monthly charge. So let me just show you quickly like how I get this for free. So obviously I have this kind of watermark here and it's like static on there, but I don't mind that at all. And I'm still able to get the domain that I wanted. So on my business card and on any links, I can still put gzang.studio. And I bought that on Google Domains. And then I can redirect it and forward it to what the kind of Editor X link is, because with the free version you can't get, you know, your custom URL, and that's fine. I can type this in and it still forwards to this. And by doing that, I get all the features of Editor X. So Editor X, this is part of Wix, just their upgraded pro kind of program where they have kind of more responsive design features, those interactive features, and more customability than before. And they have really great kind of templates on here as well. And for the purpose of my layout, I wanted that horizontal scroll that I'll show you, and I could only get it with Editor X and not Wix. So let's see, pricing plans. Because, you know, we already have to pay for like, you know, Adobe and stuff like that. So this is just something added, $35 a month. For me, it just something like that adds up. You know, basic one is $22 a month. I barely want to pay for like Netflix and stuff like that. So this is just a lot. So to get it for free, literally design everything I wanted to, just forward it on Google Domains. And I mean, I would just keep that, I don't know, between us or whoever's watching. You guys get that information. I'm not gonna tell Wix that in case they like change something about it where I can't get it for free. So I hope that helps. So going through back to the portfolio, I do have this horizontal scroll option where I have my projects here with the hero image and kind of the years here. And that's the kind of basic hero top content. And then when I scroll down here, I have my other works and a gallery option without description, just kind of an image. And these are the projects that, you know, I might have liked but didn't get as like flushed out, or I didn't think like it needed to have its own page for it, just to enjoy for like look and feel. And then still I included like photographs that I really liked, and still at the end, you know, my illustrations here. And then this is what's left of like kind of student work that I did. I think, yeah, that's what's left of like some of the student work I did. This is all new, and this is all stuff I did through work, my first job, and then freelance clients. So just to show you kind of this, I kept Shoe City and Napism from my last portfolio, but I can show you kind of like how it's changed. So same thing with Shoe City. Open with Shoe City, a background description. So if a client's coming into this or someone hiring, they have some kind of context going into it of what the brand is. And then I wrote who the client was, role and year that it was done. And sometimes I just want to put year because I'm like, I did this in 2018. for perspective, not in 2021 where things, are a little different. So I put my role as well. And I think that's something important to either include in the description or to include just somewhere on the page. I just listed it really quickly because for me it's important because I like to play multiple roles and I have multiple interests that they're able to see, straightforward, you did this, this, and this. And to see, if you have multiple skills. So here are just some, images, same ones I used before, just laid out a little differently with my new branding. And then I separated the approach down here for each page. So I kind of wrote out, that's where I applied, where my design thinking went. Giving a little insight into why I did what I did or what I did with my time there. And I'll talk more about what to include or why to include that a little later. And again, at the bottom, I ended with this kind of photography section because it's something I'm proud of, something I enjoy doing. And I found with a lot of new companies I'm looking into now, in their description, it does say, especially if it's in-house, skills with photography or being able to be on site for photography shoots and video shoots. So it's definitely a bonus to have these extra skills if you've already done them and you have an interest in them. And it's part of me as a designer, experimenting with these different medias. So definitely want to include that too. So let's see, what should we get into next? Okay, so now how did I get here? I wanted to show you my process kind of run through. I listed this out. This isn't the smooth process that I went through because when I was redesigning this website, I kind of just thought about what I needed to do, what I wanted to prioritize. So through my trial and error, I think this is, the best process, at least what worked for me. Actually, let me show you about my about page really quick. I forgot about that. So same thing, intro with me, and a lot less text about myself, still a paragraph, not as much as before. And I think it sounds a lot more professional than what I did before. That's another thing when you go back and look at what you wrote in your resume, you're like, why did I talk like that? And I'll probably think the same thing when I go back to it. And I just included a photo. I went back and forth if I wanted to, but I think it's just nice to have a face to connect to for those that are hiring. Included interests outside of design because I'm also a human and I like these things. There's Momo. He's not here, but everyone should know who he is if they know me, and then just a simple get in touch. Okay, and then going back to how I got here. So first and foremost, brand refresh. Your personal brand. If you have created it, if you haven't, definitely think about it. It's how you kind of show your personality in your brand. Oh, that's how your brand is, how you show personality. I think my brand really reflects me. I fully went red last portfolio because I thought, that meant I was my designs were bold and strong and stuff like that. And that's why, I still kept the design. There's a pop of red, and I think someone mentioned in the chat that it looks a lot more feels much calmer, and I think that's closer to my personality than what it was before. Before it was more bold and graphic. I think this is closer to who I am, and we can tell that through design. Same way we will help clients tell what their kind of brand is going to be, look and feel wise. That's what we want to do for ourselves. So I'm not gonna get too much into how to create a brand for yourself, but that's definitely something to start off with, as a brand refresh. And that just includes what colors are you gonna use for your website, what style do you want to do, what fonts do you want to choose. And to give you like a visual, I created a Pinterest before I started, and before I start most projects I do, of what. Let me close this really quick so you can see everything. So this is my kind of like Jay-Z brand board, and here I have some pins of what I had an idea of what I wanted the look and feel to be, but to kind of solidify it more and put like my thoughts onto a screen, I created these pins. I just pinned some images. I didn't create them. I just pinned some images of like, other people's work that I thought were beautiful, and I think it has sort of like a look and feel that's pretty consistent, through these. And I kept referencing back to this as I was doing my rebrand and doing my website. So it's nice to have this kind of Pinterest board for your brand refresh and website refresh. That's definitely where I would start. Let's see. And then going back to my process, going back into now, like, what do I want to say with my portfolio? So as designers, we're always trying to communicate some message. So now for ourselves, what do we want to communicate with our website? Obviously, like, hire me. But why? What makes you someone wants to hire? So I write a lot more than I sketch, and that's another thing. I think more logically, and that's another reason why I'm not like a fine artist. Design made more sense to me because I'm more of a logical thinker when it comes to design. So I'll show you my sketchbook. It's words, I mean, on the back I have maybe 2 sketches of what I wanted my website to look like, but it's mostly like words. And I scanned this in so I could show you guys. It's definitely like, I don't expect you to read this. I'll read it for you guys. I write like a doctor, even though I chose not to be one. It's how I think. It's chicken scratch. But I wrote here what I want to showcase. And I do this a lot, even with like clients. Again, when you are asking clients for branding projects or what they want in an illustration, it's like, like, what do you want to showcase? What do you want to be included? Stuff like that. Same thing you ask clients, but now for yourself. So I will always write like those things they said, things that they want, and then kind of translate it to what that means in terms of design. So starting here, first things first, I want to show I was a designer first. So automatically that translates to first page when I open, it's my design work, my projects, large and first as a hero image. I don't write like, I don't include kind of my illustrations first. That's left to the end and smaller. And I think same thing if you were like a photographer, you want to include at the top your most recent work. And something that really is symbolic of your style when you first kind of someone opens up your portfolio, you want to see kind of the image you like the most, and you want to get hired for. So prioritizing that versus maybe, you want to do more abstract editorial photography, but so you don't want to show like, like maybe wedding photography, like a gig that you did first. So kind of just first impressions, what you want to include first, what you want to say first. And I also wrote, I knew in the beginning my concept already was to have a timeline. And let me just show you that really quick. Timeline as in, you can see I wanted this horizontal scroll, and timeline you can see kind of 2021, these are the projects I created, and then 2020, and then going back, these are the projects that I created and highlighted each year, because I wanted this for me personally to be kind of a collection of my work. I wanted to show my growth as a designer, because again, for me, it's like I didn't start off as a designer. When I first started studying it, I didn't have attention to be. So I wanted to show my growth for myself in this kind of timeline format. And also just kind of shows clients like, oh, she might have like a different way of thinking. Not everything has to be like, one way. She could, add like a horizontal scroll. I know it's not big, but for me, it's like, she thinks a little differently. And I do consider that when I work with clients. So just like something small like that. That's why I say intentional layout, thoughtful layout. We don't, as like, I don't think we just design things to make it pretty. We do design things with like purpose and story. So I think the same thing should go into your layout. And so I had an intention and concept to make that horizontal as a timeline. And there are even ideas like I didn't even include in here. So like, what does this even say? I want to show that I'm also human, not just my work. So I wrote like, write about like what I care about, or like a quick fact sheet. I didn't really include that. The closest thing I include that was like my interest on my about page. So, there's flexibility. And I think again, not all the initial ideas work out. And then I just jotted down like simple design, maximalist ideas, because it's just something that came to mind as I was brainstorming. And I think that describes my design. I'm not the most I don't include the most flourishes or illustrations. I think more simple in my design, but the ideas are there. So I think my portfolio should reflect that as well, just in the style and feel. And then even I wrote like a mood board of me with handwritten notes. So I think I was thinking of, instead of including a photo of myself, having like different elements or photos that would represent me. But that didn't happen. And I think that's because just like time. Also, like after I spent the time including everything else in here, by the time I got to that, I was like, it's fine. I'll just pop in a photo of myself and save myself some time. So, what's realistic? And then, awards. I think I just had like one design award, but just wanted to remember to mention it and show off. And then it comes to, what do I want to showcase? That was the next question I had. And you can see on this sheet, water. Again, lots of writing. And I had to go back, list all the projects I did. So these are the projects I deleted from my last portfolio, and the ones, these are the new ones for my last job and like newest clients. And I'm like trying to translate this for you guys, but it barely makes sense to me now. But just what I wanted to include in each, and how many of each within each kind of block of time. So I chose these projects. So I had all these, but then I narrowed it down. You can see I had like 6 in 2020 that I wanted to show off, and then it's 3 now. So I had all that chosen, but then I ended up narrowing it down because honestly, first, it's less work for yourself to go through and write something for each one. You have to write all this, do all these mock-ups. And also it's just considering like how much information you want to throw at the viewer. When someone's viewing your portfolio for the first time, what are the key projects you want them to see, versus like throwing everything you've ever made at them. And then I think I know some people say showcase a variety, but for me, I think it's most important to showcase what you want to get hired for. That's what I recommend, and I think that's what will make you most satisfied in the long term. So if you specialize in illustration or you enjoy doing illustration, include more of that. Even if it's a branding project, make the hero image an illustration, your illustration. And likewise for me, I enjoy branding, so a lot of this is branding work, and I've listed it like here. A lot of it's brand identity, and that's why I decided to include. And I narrowed down the projects also by just like how many images I had too. Some of these designs weren't fleshed out. They were like first or second kind of concepts for something, but we didn't flesh it out further than that, where the client didn't sign on for more than that. Like I just like this image of like this overlay I drew, but we didn't like, this wasn't like the final thing, but I still wanted to include it because I really liked it, but just didn't have place like here on the hero page. So I would say definitely showcase what's important to you, and then like narrow it down some. Yeah, because you're gonna have to worry about every single one if you include all of them up here, and you'll be able to tell like as you go through it when something will make it, or if you're just like writing, you're just like, it doesn't seem like I have enough information for here, so you can just, you know, throw it maybe more like into other works, or just to leave it out. And next is writing. That's a big thing, lots of writing. The most strenuous part, we're designers, not writers or visual people. So to put into words, it's hard. And I think I learned a lot of more professional lingo and design kind of writing while I was at my last job, because we had a team of creative strategists that would kind of translate our designs into words. So I learned a lot from them, and I had some writing samples still from them for our projects that helped me like create these descriptions of, you know, why I did certain things, but also you as a designer know best why you did certain things. So even if you're like a photographer, you can write like kind of what was the theme you were going for, just to give it a little bit of context if you wanted to. That's the chance to do that. And it's really important to give your client or those that are hiring to have you be able to, for them to even see your design thinking before you even have an interview with them. So it was a lot of writing for this and for my resume. That was probably its own like few days. That wasn't that fun, but I included it on here because it is a big part of it. And last but not least, like a realistic timeline. So most of the times when we're creating our portfolio, it's because we're looking for our next job. And we don't want to spend like 2 months or 3 months on it, because, you know, we want to apply for this opportunity that we see. But like to have a realistic timeline means, you know, realistic kind of hours for yourself too. For me, I quit my job. So this was my full-time job working on this, and that still took me like, I would say 2-3 months. Like I would say the last month I worked more consistently on it, so that's why it like took so long. But like doing this while I had a job, for me, like I was already like burnt out my last job, so I definitely wouldn't have time to work on this after work, because like you're designing all day and you don't want to, you know, design more, and you definitely won't give yourself like your best effort if you're designing this, if you're burnt out or still working on other things. So being able to be realistic about setting aside time is important too, and you know, that way you don't beat yourself up if you're wanting to get this done in 2 weeks, but you know, it's really going to take longer than that. So being understanding is definitely important. Yeah, and I think it's a lot of work put into something, but it's definitely worth it. So it is important to know, give yourself a month, 2 months, 3 months, you know, around your job or around classwork to get something like this done. Let's see, redesign process. Let me just take a break and kind of look at the chat, because I feel like I've been talking a lot. And I don't want to talk at you guys for so long. I'll go back to some of these questions at the end too.
Uh, Going back to, can you be a graphic designer if you can draw a stick man or a really bad human face? Again, yes. There's vectors. There's literally like if I this design, it's just like circles and lines, and you can see it's a modular layout. So as long as you have kind of an understanding of a design, I think it's fine. Again, vectors help me a bunch. This was a vector that I edited further in Illustrator. Again, you can see my design. I'm not a digital illustrator, and I'm creating logos all day, so they should be a little more simple, but obviously just clean designs gets the idea across. Great for me and my style. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I'm just saying thank you. Thank you for saying, Chris, the minimalist look in packaging you like. I appreciate that. You can see I'm a minimalist when it comes to design. That translates obviously through it. Yes, I hope it does save you some coins, because it's big for me. Like, this is my portfolio. I'm trying to make money, not lose money from it. Yeah, I don't know how I got hired for my last site. I'm looking at it, I'm like, so y'all looked at this and it was like yes, let's hire her. But it worked. Obviously it conveyed what I wanted to show at the time. So it worked. Yes, mock-ups are the hardest part. I think someone asked, where do you usually get your mock-ups from, or do you make them yourself? And thank you. It takes a lot of time to find. That's why I try to keep a consistent style, but I choose mock-ups that kind of fit the brand, and sometimes I have to create them myself. Like, some things are easier, like this one I was able to just have like a background, add some drop shadows, and create something that looked kind of mocked up. This I definitely found, and this I kind of put together. But it just takes a lot of Googling, and that's a lot of because we have to do this for client presentations. So luckily I kept up with it as I was going for client presentations, so I have all this saved. So as you're going for design, definitely think about mocking it up for the client, because eventually you'll need it yourself too, and it's helpful to do it at the time instead of after, because I definitely had to do that, do some of that as well. And it's just, they're all free. I don't pay, I don't even pay for a portfolio. I'm not going to pay for a mock-up. You're going to have to look a little harder, but all these that I've used are free. And I just Google for it and go searching for it. Sometimes Pinterest, you can look it up too, and they'll link it to it. But just a lot of searching for the right thing. This, I just chose an image and then kind of imposed this banner onto it. So there's workarounds for it. Yeah. So now let's get into what to include for a checklist of basically most of the stuff I went through, and I'll provide you guys a checklist of everything you should include in your portfolio. And let's see. There we go. So I already made it for you guys. You can screenshot this for yourself to look back after. But these are some points that I talked about before, and some things that you guys can reference back to as you're going through. So I'll just kind of briefly go through these checklist points and why I included them, because I think this list of checkpoints is what I narrowed it down to. Oh my god. When you're the only kid in class and you have to cough, that's how I feel. Good thing I have this mute button. Okay. So these are what I the list of things I narrowed it down to include, to stand out to clients and for your job, potential jobs. So first things first is include personality. That means like you don't have to, tell a joke or something. Not like my last website where I thought, I needed to include personality and open in with this like quirky intro. I think this one is closer to my personality, and I think on my about page, including, my interests, just a little bit of it, or, what's important to me, my cat, shows just a little bit of personality. And just, I think it's important when someone's hiring, to give them a sense of who you are aside from just being a designer, because you're going to be their coworker. You're going to be the person that person is trusting their money and their brand to. So, give a little insight of who you are as a person, not just a designer. So that can be done through your branding, including little descriptors like this, more personalized messages, just subtle touches. Doesn't have to be, something as much as like that header I had before. Another thing is share what's important to you. I think I mentioned this before, and how to narrow down your projects is your portfolio is for you, so share what you want people to see, share what you're proud of, share what you wanted to get hired for. I think that's most important. I'm not gonna include the work that, I kind of like just disliked. Maybe, working with clients, maybe they had too much input, or maybe I just didn't get around to flushing it out as much as I wanted to. I still have to put some work into it, so they're not here. They might be in other works, but definitely, like, if I could just summarize it, like, share what's important to you. And I hope that makes sense. And next is strong imagery with context. So definitely with any creative, imagery first is important. A lot of those viewing might be non-designers or non-artists, so it's hard to kind of explain, what product they're getting or what they're getting from you as a creative. So having strong imagery, it's definitely important. It's their first impression, and most people are visual. They'll, someone that isn't a designer will view this and, see the work and be like, they don't know why I did something. They don't have to read the description, but they can just be like, oh, that's pretty, it's mocked up nice, so it just looks nice, rather than this just being a flat, like, let's click into this. So this is mocked up like that, but this is at the actual kind of PDF. It's just flat, and this wouldn't look so nice in the beginning. It's just something to draw in their attention and be like the hero image. So definitely imagery first, and that's how I narrow down some projects. Is I just didn't have enough images to be on here, so I tucked it into here. And then create case studies to share your insight. That's one of the things the professors emphasize, and now I do believe, and that's where the writing is. So let's see. So case studies, as in, like, we do kind of have this kind of, we have an artistic process similar to, I think, the same process like a scientific process. We start with a problem, which I'll give some background and kind of on here, and then kind of bring them through like what my approach is. And I think it's really important for those hiring to see your thought process, I think, like I said, and it just really shows your design thinking, and you're making something more than just it being pretty. So definitely case study, give a little background, your role, your approach. I think I said all I could about that. I'm really emphasizing that. So if you have any questions about that, definitely ask. But I think it's really important and definitely the kind of sucky part of it. And then an accessible layout. So that means something that is easy to navigate and something that's kind of, again, kind of image first, not too much cluttering it. Even if you have a brand that might have more graphic elements, using it when it's appropriate, rather than, over like embellishing your layout to where it impedes into your images. You don't want to overshadow those images because it is almost like a gallery, your website. So you want it to, like when you go to the museum, it's kind of framed and it has a description, but you're able to enjoy it on its own rather than, having it too busy with something else. So I would keep that in mind, and it doesn't mean you have to have like a blank, like white slate layout. Like mine's pretty neutral and clean. Definitely add color, just around and where it's appropriate. And also with accessible is like, I know my horizontal scroll wasn't the easiest to deal with, and it definitely isn't easy mobilely, so I had to go back and each page make it mobilely accessible. And I know with Android it still has like some issues too, so I still have to work on that, but making sure it's accessible like on a desktop and mobile, because a lot of times we do just pull up things on our phone, so it still needs to look right. Luckily Wix does try to optimize it, but for mine, because I kind of complicated things, it didn't work. But because mine's like a little more kind of like has a little bit more elements to it, I did include notes on purpose to scroll this way for projects, and then just scroll down for additional works, just so they know, because your first instinct is just to scroll down on a website, so you would directly go to here, but just a little note to go this way as well. And I included that also, like with here, like it's interactive and only on desktop because it's this interactive PDF. So notes like that, if you do have some additional features, just thinking about the viewer as well. Yeah, I think that's important. So they can enjoy your portfolio to its kind of potential that you expected it to be. And I think that's really my main points I had. There are, designers in this chat, so let me know if there's anything that you think I'm missing, anything that you think is important. I would love to touch on it and like have a conversation about it too. But I think it's a good time to, think I'm repeating myself now. So I have this checklist. I'll keep it up here, but if you guys have a portfolio you want to kind of get some opinions on or just review, feel free to send it now or send it after if you just want me to look at it one-on-one. And then I'm just going to go back now and answer your questions. So let me see. I'll look at the most recent ones here really quick. Thoughts on personal/school projects versus real life projects for content. I think it's just based on how much time you have. I think that's what it comes down to. First and foremost is if you have time for it. And I wish we had more time for it. It depends like what your workload is like, if you have the brain capacity to work on it after work. Especially if like, I do think it's important, especially if you don't have maybe the dream job you want. Let's say your dream job is like, oh, you want to work in the music industry to make like album covers, but your current job is with like kind of infographic design or something like that. Then it makes sense to spend a little time on side projects if you can, to create your dream job, by creating these side projects that interest you. um, and yeah, that way you have these projects to show when a job opportunity comes up, and you can share it online on social media, and it can attract clients for that job. So again, goes back to showing what's important to you, and if it's important to you but you don't have it yet, make it a side project. I think it's a great way to learn too. I definitely did a lot of kind of self-teaching with like interactive PDFs, some motion design. um, Definitely have to learn about that on my own. So I hope that helps. What is that? So Kay said her concern is that her portfolio is that her portfolio is just almost my personal work, which I'm not opposed to and proud to talk about, but feel unprofessional because of that in a way, since all my professional work is not on brand with my design style and or sign work that I can't claim as mine. It's not on brand with my design style or sign work. I'm just rereading this again really quick. Maybe it's not on brand. I can claim as mine. I'm trying to think. So I think like I have instances of that where I've designed stuff and it's not my style, but luckily enough I have enough work where I can either phase those out or include it like kind of less importantly down here. Like I do not like this project. It's not my style, but I thought like it's one of the first interactive PDFs I did, so I was like, oh, it's interesting. So I just kept it down here so it's not like a major focus point. So if you do need more kind of things that are along your style, I do recommend, doing some side projects to put it in. And you don't necessarily have to have a design style yet. Since we're working with clients, not everything has to be kind of your design style yet, especially if you're building portfolio pieces. I think I found a commonality in my design of, some things being more minimal, but that's only through time and understanding, how I design. Because if you compare these two, they're technically different design styles. One's very dark, versus the other one has a lot more graphic elements. So, and that's because of the client ask and what the client needed. So, I don't design stuff because I like it. I design it because it's a client's kind of ask and what would work for them to tell their story. So, but I found a commonality with how I design, to use vectors, lines, stuff like that, to use as graphic elements versus illustrations. So I think you can still get away with things that aren't technically your style, but you think is like a successful piece. I would still include it in there, and you'll only build more pieces from there. Yeah. So let's see. I just to go over really quick, I made my portfolio on Wix Editor X. So it's still under Wix. It's just their kind of like pro program. And I'll try to make like a highlight of this after we're done for future reference. So you can definitely go back and kind of review the part where I talked about like how I got it for free as well. But it is under Editor X here, but it's through Wix. So graphic design, salaried. Graphic design and salary. I think we should be more transparent with like salary and getting jobs through all careers. I think with jobs for me, it's definitely I chose graphic design because it made me happy to be in like a creative profession, rather than I would have been like a doctor or a nurse. So that was first and foremost. It's definitely a passion. I think that's the thing for most creatives, it's your passion. So, and creative careers have a lot of stigma of being like unstable. And I did answer this in my like design like major Q&A, but I'm happy to like just talk about it really quick too, because that was like a while ago, so I'm not sure if I'm missing anything. Here's Momo. Hi. I want him to sit for a little bit. Oh. So I think like it is. Sorry, I got distracted. Hi, baby. He's so cute. He's happy. But yeah, career-wise, salary-wise, like it's fine. I think I started off graduating in my first job out of college. I was making 56,000, and I think they offered me like what 50,000 or something. No, maybe less, like 48,000. And I was like, honestly, I was happy with that. First job out of college, I was like, great, you know. We're in the like the thousands, like great. But then, you know, always negotiate. So I was like, oh, maybe I should ask for like 58 or like something. But then I was too like timid to do that. So then I was like, okay, I literally was like, okay, you know, I'll be more comfortable for 56. And they say yes to that. So I'm sure if I said 58, they would say yes. So definitely negotiate. And then now looking for my new job, I want to have at least like a 20% increase from my last one. So I think that would be like what, like closer to 68,000 or something like that. But I think I asked for, and it always is based off also like cost of living where you're at. So I asked for, I think what, 75 to 80,000 or something like that. And they were like, oh yeah, like great, that's like, we're really comfortable with that, that's right within our thing. And then I was like, damn, I should have asked for more. So it's always like relative, but like I think like pay wise it's stable. Like graphic design is really stable. And then, you know, I always supplement my income with freelance. And that's the thing, like you can work more if you want to, you know, and I can charge what rate I want to or what I think is appropriate on the side. So that's also a bonus for any creative. You can pick up jobs as you like. So I think the stigma of like, you know, our careers being unstable isn't really, you know, isn't like, you know, as relevant anymore, because everything is visual now. People need so much visual work. So I wouldn't worry about that. But I understand why you worry about that. Yes. Please send your portfolio later day whenever you're ready. You can just DM it to me or email it to me whenever you're ready. Almost hairs everywhere. If I update an old project, if you're updating an old project, like how I did with Shoe City or Napism, these are old projects. This is still the same. I added this video. I added this kind of thing so you can walk through it. And I think the way I did it in the past, I just had them kind of like static here. So I just added like this feature instead. So I still was okay with these, and it saved me time to keep it this way. So I think if you have old projects and you like, if it's still, you know, if you're still okay with it, I think it's perfectly fine to just keep it. Be efficient and save yourself some time. Yeah, and it is a previous project, so I think it's okay to keep it, you know, in the past if it still looks, you know, okay enough. I do have LinkedIn. I didn't think I needed it until I just updated it. This is the last thing I did after my portfolio. I didn't think I needed it, but I just updated it, and that's what I've been looking on. Um, that's what I've been looking on to get my next job. So and then there's an option for like recruiters to see you. So I have had like a recruiter reach out to me through that, which I think is really helpful. And yeah, I didn't think it was important. And I mean, I don't network on it like other people do, but I think it's just nice to have as just a resource. Mm, what was I applying for? Yeah, like haven't said 98K. That would be nice. Um, yeah, negotiate always, and like if they offer you something, that means they want you. So like get your worth and negotiate. Oh my god, I'm eating my coffee. Coffee beans. Hello. Um, I'm just happy to be here. That's how I was, and that's how I got taken advantage of. Honestly, was I was just like happy to be there. I wanted to prove myself out of college, so they just put more things on me, but didn't pay me more for it, and that's tea. But it's true, and it happens a lot to like artists, and that's why it's important to have like with freelance clients like set kind of uh like outline of what's included, what's not. But with jobs, it's harder because you want to do a good job and you work extra hours and stuff. And we don't get overtime because we're salary. So I was probably doing the work of a lot more than I was paid for because I was just happy to be there. Um, so definitely be aware of that. And we can have a whole other like live chat about, what it's really like being in the industry. It's definitely not scary. There's just things to look out for and things to be aware of. So it's like, I feel like the same thing as like when you're in a relationship and then you get out of one and you're like, oh, that was kind of like bad. Same thing with design. And if you have any other like suggestions for live streams, please let me know what you're interested in, because this has been really fun for me to just talk to you guys. Yeah, so we can definitely save like some topics for later for another stream because there's just so much to talk about just from experience. And I'm only talking really from experience. I'm learning all this stuff. So I think I give advice and I do these like talks just so like kind of fast forwards your like progress as a designer rather than like all the trial and error that I went through. I will not play Fortnite. I tried Minecraft for like a week. It's okay. I don't know. I'm just not a gaming person. And then yeah. So currently I'm freelancing because I quit my job. How many months ago? I think like it was almost my 2 years at the job or 3 years at the job, and I quit. I also think in the creative industry, it's okay to hop around. At least to me, it's okay to hop around. It's a salary increase each time. But I quit because, like, I just couldn't do it anymore, and I can go in more on that, like, another time. But so I quit my job. I took a break, and I told myself, 5-6 month break. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing now, and I'm like, I'm along my timeline. So I think I'm at about like, was it like 5-ish months or something like that, and that's like why I started working my portfolio, and now I'm actively applying for jobs. So I can definitely speak on like that experience as well. And well, I think it is a good time to um, I think you should make a whole live stream talking about the job itself. Oh my god, there's so much to talk about. And I have friends in the design industry, so I'm sure they can talk about it, and we'll get together and just like talk about our jobs. But it's like any other job. It's not scary. It's like any other job where you get tired of doing certain stuff because it's a job. You know, you're there to get paid to do it rather than doing things on your own terms. But at least I get to do things still that I enjoy, to be creative and stuff like that. So I think it's a realistic expectation to have. It's not like everything's bad. And during my interview process, to like bring it back to portfolio since that's the topic of this, I've noticed when for my first job and as I'm talking to a new job, they always say like they'll like briefly look at it, but then they'll ask you like, oh, can you talk me through one of your favorite projects, or a project that didn't work out so well. So most times they'll have your portfolio open, but they still want to hear from you. I'm sure they screened you by looking through your portfolio, maybe reading some of the stuff, but then they really want to hear from you still, how you talk about a project, your design thinking about it, the trials and errors of it. So that's another benefit of kind of having those written paragraphs and insight, is that you've already written it out, so you can just kind of go back to that during interview and be like, kind of already have it, like, I'm not saying like read it word from word, but you'll already know like, oh, I made this point and this point, so I'll just kind of tell them about that again now. So during interviews, they will ask you, just to still explain it yourself. And I think that's not the hard part. I think it is pretty easy to explain it because you designed it, you know why you designed it. But always give, let them know your designs are really thoughtful. And let them know, like, you didn't just choose blue because blue is pretty. You chose blue because it was like, like, which one was it? I chose blue here because it was for the concept. It was the color of like, a blueprint. So we had this whole blueprint concept, and that's where these lines were, because it's a iconic building on this like landmark that was like 500 Boylston. So we went with this blueprint concept and we created this like navy blue kind of palette to work off, this monochrome palette, to show as like a clean slate for kind of new companies and shops to come in and make their own mark. So there's always a why, and maybe you don't know at the time, but you can definitely look back and know why you chose that. So this is definitely one of the projects I shared because I put a lot of thought into it, and there was a good story behind it, so definitely something I talk about. Yeah, so I can make a whole live stream talking about that job, other jobs, and it was my first experience out of college, so I can definitely talk about that. What to expect, how to, like red flags, what to kind of ask for, or just how to create like a healthy work environment for yourself and with the company. So I think if there's not any more questions, we can end it soon. It's been a good hour or so with you guys. I think, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything, but we'll start to kind of close down. What are your thoughts on leaving a job you're happy at to make more money? Um, I do think, I do think, saying it's, it's rare to have a job that, you're happy at for like a certain period of time. I was happy at my job, but then I found like it was important to grow as a designer, and I think I maxed out my potential at the previous job. So it's not, always just about money. It's because you want to grow as a designer, um, and get out of your comfort zone to do something else. So that's another reason to leave. But um, if the current job you're you want to make more money, it's always a reason to ask for a raise. If they value you, they should be able to figure out something. Um, but if not, consider a new job to work on your potential and your growth. We are family here, red flag. I understand having that kind of culture where you guys are all close, but it is work at the end of the day. And another red flag is like, uh, literally the last job, it was like newsroom type environment, responsive like to blah blah blah, um, like just everything's like fast paced newsroom type environment, and that's exactly what I got. I read that, I did not see that red flag, and that's exactly what I got. So sometimes they know, they'll list it, and you just have to, you know, read it. Period. Um, But yeah, last few minutes, please just let me know like what you want to hear about in the next stream. Jobs is definitely a topic we can talk about. If there's anything else, I would love your suggestion now. I'm just going back through the comments. I think I try to answer most of them. I think about like uploading videos to YouTube, I really enjoy like giving like talking about design, but the editing like kind of format wasn't working for me, so that's why I wanted to do this live. So I think new videos would be like either me posting something like this, doing another live, or like I'll edit this into like highlights and then upload it, and I hopefully that'll be like my new upload, and then this will be same thing as like a new video, but just like a different way to record it, because I think it does work better for me. UX design, have I ever thought about UX design? I literally have I think like one UX project on here, and it's definitely like the front end design. I just did this app design. My friend that's actually in UX, she did the wireframes and stuff, and then went into this. I know a lot of people getting into UX design, but definitely not my specialty. Even with creating this, I think for me, it's just not something I enjoy, because it's like a lot of repetitive stuff, and I'm very sporadic when I design. So I'll like do one thing, but then want to do something completely different. So something being consistent like that is like I have a hard time with, but I see the appeal like of creating like this whole app or like this whole website, and having that consistent design is appealing for some people. But it's not something I have thought of, but I have tried it. Yeah, I think I covered most everything. Fast-paced environment, run, literally sprint. Yes, able to thrive in a fast-paced environment. Why do they expect that of us? Like, I know we have to meet like deadlines, but not like that. What to look for in job descriptions? Yeah, definitely can include that with like the job the job video. Yeah, every company says fast paced. Yeah, this was like everyone says it. Like we understand. Like, but there's a difference between like a healthy one and like realistic deadlines versus like, yeah, unrealistic deadlines and like, late nights and stuff like that. And I think the more of us that like stand up for ourselves towards those kind of boundaries, the more we'll change like the fast-paced environment kind of expectation throughout companies and stuff like that. Because obviously right now everyone's saying fast-paced environment because it's a like industry expectation and standard. Yeah, interviews we can talk about. Interviews, oddly enough, I'm not like, I get nervous when I present, but I like interviews. At least I've had like good experiences with them. Definitely not if someone's like just not like I feel like friendly or something like that. And companies where they emphasize, yeah, companies that emphasize they respect design process and time. Really pleasant. Yeah, you can tell when someone values like the design team. And I think we can talk about that more. I think we can talk about red flags, we can talk about green flags. This one company I interviewed for, I had a positive experience because I think just one telltale sign is like I interviewed with the whole brand team. I was applying for just a graphic designer position. I interviewed with the senior designer, but also interviewed with like the brand manager and performance like manager and the junior designer. They all interviewed me. We all had a chat. And then they get to sit down and decide if I'm a fit for their team. So it's not just the head of the brand team making the decision. It was a green flag that everyone had to say. So you can tell by things like that. And I think I look out for it more because I've been in a like stressful environment. So things like that stand out for me and I'm more cautious of. Yeah. But I think we're getting on to jobs, and obviously there's like something going on with graphic design and a job environment and creatives and job environments enough for us to talk about it in a different stream, and I can share more about it then. But yeah, I think portfolio, we covered most of it. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys send me yours if you want it to get reviewed. I'll be happy to do so. Give me a few days. But here I still have up this checklist for this site. This checklist. So definitely use it as a guide. And I hope, what do I hope for? Just like happy designing. And thank you for tuning in. I really like talking about design, and oh my god, I gotta go. I think Chase might have dropped something, but let's go back to the start screen. Oh no, not that one, this one. Yeah, so this is a good first live stream. I could talk for days and could keep talking to you guys, but thank you guys for being here. If there's anything that helped, just keep chatting. Okay, bye, because I'll never say bye. I'll just keep talking. Okay, bye. Thank you guys. See you next time. Yes, go 2022. Bye.